In this video, I'm going to show you how to build the power rack, the weights bench. I'm going to give you the parts list, cost, and instructions. So let's get into it. This project is inspired by the Buff Dudes. A link to their channel is in the description, so make sure you check that out. I've made some design changes to their power rack. Depending on your ceiling height, make the structure taller. This allows you to overhead press from inside the rack, reduce the overall depth of the rack to save space, but leave enough so that you can still perform all of the major compound lifts in there. Finally, customize the steelwork, giving quicker adjustments of the hardware between exercises. The weights bench is made from 25mm MDF, some plain timber, carpet underlay, and vinyl covering. It's easy to construct, and there'll be more on this later in the video. The entire project cost under £280 to build, which is awesome considering steel power racks online cost around £600 to £700, and they've got less functionality, and they don't come with a lovely weights bench. First off, you're going to order the timber, so find some local builders merchants and compare some quotes. I had 9.5 lengths of 4x4 delivered, which were 2.4 meters long, but I already had the wood for the weights bench, so order yourself 10 lengths if you want to build both projects. There's a lot of cutting in this project, so follow the plan I've made and use an electric saw. If you don't have one, try to borrow one from a friend. It's going to save you so much time over using a handsaw. Once the cutting is complete, you have the option to sand the timber. I ordered tannalized 4x4 timber, which had a rough finish. You could avoid sanding if you pay that little extra for planed 4x4 timber, which is already smoothed. If you do this and want the same dimensions as my power rack, you'll have to adjust the cut slightly. That's because plain 4x4 timber is actually 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, whereas tannalized timber is true 4x4 inch. After sanding, it's time to drill the uprights. Center your first hole 12 inches from the bottom of the timber. The other 13 holes are centered 4.5 inches above the last hole that was drilled. When drilling the holes, put some scrap wood underneath so that you don't split the timber when you drill through the wood. So if you want to save time, you can drill fewer holes. And I regularly use the 4th and 6th hole for the safety bars and the 7th and 11th hole for the racking pins. Make sure you use a high-powered drill and a tri-fluted drill bit. This type of bit pulls the wood out as you're drilling through, creating less friction. Don't be tempted to use a 32mm bit you have lying around. It's not going to cut it, literally. Now you're ready to construct the sides. Take this opportunity to arrange the wood so that it hides any imperfections when you fix it together. Don't forget to drill one hole on 2 of the uprights for your chin-up bar. I centered the hole at 2 meters from the bottom of the upright. So if you're tall, you could drill 1.5 inches higher than this, but any further is going to interfere with the toenail fitting, and you're going to have to drill through that as well. The floor I was working on wasn't quite straight, so try to level everything out before attaching your fixings. With the 90-degree plates, attach the largest side to the uprights. You'll want 2 2-inch screws for each side. Once you've attached the 4 fixings, let's move on to the steel plates. I lined up the plate halfway between each timber. The plates on the bottom of the frame need to go on the outside edge. Fixing them in this way will allow you to get a tight fit when connecting the rest of the frame together later on. Build the other side of the frame in the same way. Just remember to fix the steel plates at the bottom of the second frame as a mirror image to those on the first frame. So halfway through this project, I did have some carpets fitted, but I was able to lift the frames up and out of the room. But once you connect those 2 sides together, you're going to want to be in the room you're staying in. When connecting the sides of the frame together with the 41-inch pieces, use the 90-degree ties in the same way as before. Then attach the 4 steel plates along the back of the power rack. Now we're going to fit the toenail joints for strength. And for the pilot holes, I marked up 1 inch in from the bottom and 1 inch in from the sides. You'll need 4 3-inch screws for each toenail. If you'd fitted the 90-degree plates earlier on with 4 screws, you'll notice that the outer 2 interfere with the toenail fitting. To solve this, you could smooth off the ends of the wood with a sander. You can also make the toenail joint 1 inch longer, but that will interfere with the first hole on the frame, so plan ahead. I custom designed the steel fittings for this rack and I ordered them from a manufacturer. I left tolerances in the measurements for the bars, but in reflection you can make the safety bars, racking pins and chin-up bar 1 inch shorter if you want a real tight fit. Just be aware they'll probably come covered in oil, so they'll need a good clean. And now it's time to try it out. You can squat facing in or out of the rack depending on your preference. The safety bars work great on a failed bench press, allowing you to get out safely if you don't have a spotter. And that, my friends, is the power rack. So far it's been great to use, and at this point I'll just suggest one practical improvement for the steelwork. 2 more 90-degree elbow connectors and 2 5-inch threaded bars. It will allow the handles to curl around the wooden upright, essentially making it a quick release system. You'll no longer need to unscrew the end caps every time you want to adjust the bar. This means you can remove 4 of the end caps from the original order. I ordered 2 that were surplus, and you no longer need the 2 from the safety bars. Now it's onto the weights bench, which is a little easier to construct. Just follow the cut list from earlier. Center up 2 of the 12-inch pieces ready for the brackets. Mark the center of a steel tie and convert it to a right angle bracket. You'll need to repeat this 10 times, so find something solid to wedge them in. Connect 2 of the brackets to each of the legs using 1.5-inch screws. Center the main timber on the MDF board. You may want to make this 36 inches long if you're using true 4x4 wood. Connect the legs to the main support piece, then attach 2 more of the brackets on either side of the legs to fix them to the MDF. Use screws less than 25mm when fixing the brackets to the MDF so that you won't pierce through to the other side. So I got the MDF from a sawmill and it cost around £5. You should be able to pick some up in a hardware store, and they may even cut it for you if you ask nicely. I had some 9mm underlay left over from the new carpet, so I used it on the bench. You could use any type of foam up to a few inches thick depending on how firm you want the bench to be. Spray adhesive is good for fixing the underlay in place. After it's glued, just trim the sides of the first layer. Fold the second layer of underlay over the edges of the bench. This stops the vinyl tearing on the MDF edges when you stretch it around. Then you're ready to staple the vinyl into place. I got a 1.5 meter by 0.6 meter piece from a general furniture store. Cost of this was around £5. When you get to the corners, try to fold them as neatly as possible before stapling into place. And that's it, you're all set to push some weights. So in reflection, this has been a real fun project to do, and I'm going to look to make some improvements such as cable attachments and pulleys in a later episode. I'll probably do a fitness transformation video as well, so stay tuned for that. So if you enjoyed that content, please hit the like and subscribe button, and in the meanwhile, stay safe and get building.